There was a time long ago when I belonged to the light, or at least I performed in it. I still hear the echo of my boots on polished marble, each step chasing itself down the long corridors of the castle. The sound would arrive before me, announcing the fool, the jester, the man paid to dance on the edge of death and make it look like joy. The great hall would swell with laughter before I even spoke, not because I was loved, but because I was expected. Laughter was my shield. Flames flickered along the walls, catching on polished goblets and jeweled rings, turning everything into something golden and alive. I would step into that light and begin, weaving truth into rhyme, wrapping sharp edges in soft laughter. The king would laugh loudest, he always did. The queen, she was different. She would cover her mouth not to hide disgust, but to hide something softer, something real, a smile she could not afford to show. And in those moments, I felt that fragile thing beneath the laughter. Truth. I was their fool. Not because I lacked wit, but because I had too much of it. In that court, truth was a dangerous thing. Spoken plainly, it would cost you your life, but dressed in jest, shaped into something clever, it could slip past the blade. I learned to read the room the way a hunter reads the wind, who feared exposure, who hid secrets beneath silk and smiles, who would laugh and who would remember, and I would choose my words carefully, or not carefully at all, because there was a thrill in it, a moment just before the laughter came, when the room held its breath, when something real surfaced, something no one wanted to see. That moment was everything, not the laughter, the silence before it. That was where truth lived. My mother was the only person I cared about. I remember her hands most of all, rough from labor, steady and warm. Before I left for the court, she would press her fingers gently against my lips and whisper, "Careful what you say tonight, boy." And then she would laugh. She worked herself into the ground for a kingdom that never knew her name. But when I made her laugh, she was free. That was the only audience that ever mattered. The court, however, wanted something else. They didn't want the truth. They wanted cruelty dressed as humor. And I gave it to them. Until the night I didn't. The hall was full. The king slouched on his throne, already lost to drink. The queen watched quietly, her eyes distant, as if she already knew what was coming. I stepped forward, and I spoke, a simple jest about a king who claimed divine favor, but feared the dark like a child. The room went still, not silent, still, as if something had shifted. Then came the laughter, broken, uneven, and the king laughed loudest of all, but his eyes did not. That was the moment I knew. I had crossed the line. I was not sent back to my quarters. I was taken below. The dungeon was older than the castle above it. The stone walls were damp, breathing with the weight of time. Water dripped somewhere in the dark, steady and patient. They left me in chains, and I was not alone. At first I did not see him, only the feeling of being watched. Then he moved, not out of the shadows, but as if the shadows themselves had decided to take shape. He stepped into the torchlight slowly, pale, still. His face was not monstrous, but it was wrong in a way I could not name, too calm and too white, as if time had touched him, and then stopped. His skin was smooth and glistened. "I've watched you perform. You are brave." His voice was quiet, measured. I gave a weak smile. "I speak what I can survive saying." He studied me. "Do you know why they keep you alive?" I said nothing. He stepped closer. "You make them laugh, but you've seen it, haven't you?" I swallowed. "The moment before the laughter," he continued, "when something real rises to the surface." I nodded. "That," he said softly, "is where truth lives." "You are not a fool," he whispered. "You are a mirror." A pause. "And mirrors can be broken." His hand lifted slowly, resting against my jaw, cold, steady. Or sharpened. I should have refused. I didn't. "What are you offering?" I asked. He held my gaze. Freedom. And I believed him. That was my mistake. There was no struggle, no roaring battle, only a swift, precise bite, teeth colder than steel. In an instant, every mask I had ever worn, every jest I had ever spun, Every hidden truth I had ever cradled was stripped away. And beneath it all, I felt the hunger, ancient, bottomless, patient. I had been bitten by a vampire. My heart slowed. The world faded to grey. The echoes of laughter I had once chased diminished to a hollow echo. And then, silence. When I woke, the court was gone from my life forever. I was no longer the fool. I broke the chains and left the dungeon and kingdom forever. But that is a different story. Centuries have passed since that night, and still in those rare moments before hunger returns, I can hear my mother's laugh. I miss her laugh, and I have almost forgotten what it is like to be human. Except for the jokes. I have never forgotten the jokes. If you would like to read more about this vampire in his later years, check out my story, Dead Comedians and Spicy Jokes, on my Substack, Kevin Frazier Horror Writer.